Well, this has been a long time coming. The Sarah Jane Adventures. No, I'm not reviewing entire seasons of the thing. I wasn't commissioned for that. Nope, we're just going to talk about the 1 hour special that technically predates the first season proper, but effectively the first episode Invasion of the Bane. So, people have asked me intermittently over the years if I will ever talk about the Sarah Jane Adventures. And my usual answer has been no, I don't intend to. I watched the first 2 seasons of this, and it's just not for me. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't think it has like fundamental things that it does like badly, like big swaths of Torchwood. Like, look, when Torchwood is good, it's great, but it ain't always good. In fact, it's good a minority of the time. But whereas with Torchwood, there's just a bunch of stuff that's like, that doesn't work. There's nothing wrong with Sarah Jane Adventures. It's just not for me. Like, tonally, it is pitched too young. I kind of shrug it off in much the same way that I shrug off some of the goofier episodes of RTD's run. Honestly, tonally, this reminded me of Partners in Crime a lot, which is an episode I know a lot of people love, and I don't particularly. Like, it's fine, and I get why people like it. I don't, especially. It's just not for me. And that's kind of the same way that I've always felt about this show. I tell you, going back and watching this, the thing that kept coming to mind, and it's weird in my head, and like, it's a bad comparison, but it's what I kept thinking of. I think just because of like where my brain is placing the intended age range for this, which was that it kept reminding me of the parts of Power Rangers that weren't taken from the Super Sentai shows. So, the stuff, and understand, I only ever saw bits and pieces of like the first season of Power Rangers, so I only know Mighty Morphin. Don't ask me about other Power Ranger stuff. Like, but my point is, even at the time, I didn't really get into it that much. I was like just barely too old for it, like by, I don't know, 1 or 2 years as far as my taste went. But I just kind of has that same feel of, it is very much pitched for kids, but like the upper edge of what you would label a kid. And that's fine. That's a perfectly fine thing to be. That's a perfectly fine demographic to aim for. It is not me. It wasn't me at the time that it came out initially. It definitely isn't me now. But that's sort of me preemptively saying why I'm not going to be effusively praising this. Not because there's anything wrong with it, but because I am not the intended demographic for it, and it doesn't land with me, and that is not to its detriment. It just means I'm the wrong person for this. It was odd to realize watching this that I had watched 2 full seasons of the show. For some reason, I thought I'd only watched 1, because right off the bat, we're introduced to Maria, and I'd forgotten about her completely. I remembered Ronnie, who doesn't show up until season 2, and I'd completely forgotten that it was a completely different main character, or one of the core main characters in the first season. No, actually, honestly, main character. She's the one we initially start with. She's the one we meet first. She's the one who has the stakes initially. Honestly, Sarah Jane is, despite being the titular character, is positioned much more as a Giles or a Zordon. I don't know why I keep going back to freaking Power Rangers, but like, she's the knowledgeable one in the room, but she's not the lead character. And it makes it a little odd that the show's named for her, because it's not really an exploration of her. And given the demographic that it's aimed at, that's probably for the best. And like, I know there are some episodes later that are a bit more about her, but they are kind of the exceptions. It's largely a group show with a heavier focus on the kids. And, well, okay. So Elizabeth Sladen is delightful. She's great in this part. And she seems to be very game, for what this is and what her role in it is going to be. She has this sense of experience and weight to her words and her actions. Honestly, a bit more so than she was often granted when she came back on the show proper. Well, but yeah, she works pretty well in this. We also have Luke, the introduction of Luke, who becomes, by the end of it, Sarah Jane's adopted son. And you can tell that Luke was a creation of necessity. Like, it would seem very odd for Sarah Jane at her age to be, a single person hanging out with the neighborhood kids as much as the stories would require her to. It would just kind of come across as a little odd. And it makes more sense if she is the parent to one of the kids involved. Of course, it had already been established in School Reunion that she doesn't have kids. So they have to make her one. And the thing is, you can tell that's kind of the case because Luke doesn't really serve a purpose in the story. Like, there's a line of dialogue explaining why he's there and how he fits into the plans of the Bane, but they immediately discard him because it turns out they didn't need him anyways. So he's very much just, they came up with an excuse to create him. That said, like, the performances of the younger actors are pretty solid. It can get wonky with kid actors sometimes, but for what they're asked to do, it is pretty solid. Tonally, though, again, it is just, at that sort of tween, the very edge of being called a kid kind of age. I'm just like thinking of the fact of like, okay, we're mixing, that there are definitely characters who die, like one of the villains gets eaten, and yet, so there's a certain amount of actual threat, and yet the primary thing is people just holding a soda bottle in front of themselves going, drink it, which is, I'm sorry, that's silly as hell. And again, for the age demographic it's aimed at, fine. For me, it's too dang silly. As far as the plot for this goes, it's a perfectly serviceable plot for a kickoff for something like this. Something that can rope in Maria and get Luke introduced and team them up with Sarah Jane so that for future adventures, everybody's here. Well, not everybody. Clyde isn't introduced in this, and Ronnie wouldn't show up until later. But you have the groundwork laid to launch into the show proper after this, so it does its job. I will say a very smart thing was casting Samantha Bond as Miss Wormwood, who serves as the primary antagonist. I mean, she is answering to somebody, the Bane mother, but that's a CGI creature. She is functionally the primary antagonist. She was a real good pick. Like, I know her best from playing Moneypenny during the Pierce Brosnan Bond movies, so I'm happy to see her regardless. And she definitely understood the assignment. She's matching Sarah Jane's energy in terms of taking it just seriously enough, and she has a certain amount of gravitas that she's able to bring to the part. Actually, seeing her face off against Sarah Jane kind of brought to mind the Anthony Stewart Head facing off against David Tennant in School Reunion, fittingly enough. The little basically cameo appearance by K9 is cute. It's basically serving as an explanation for why K9 will not be is Sir not appearing in this film. But it is nice that they thought to offer an explanation for why K9 is going to be something that is seen sporadically, if at all, because otherwise, K9 could theoretically solve a lot of the problems. So it makes sense to shelve him. We get the introduction of Mr. Smith, which honestly kind of serves as a nerfed K9. And yes, I do know some of the twists that they do with Mr. Smith later on. But like initially, it's like, okay, so we're going to background K9 because K9 is mobile and a computer and can scan things and analyze them and like shoot lasers out of his nose. He's too powerful for this show. He breaks the power scaling. So we are going to background him, but we still need somebody to tell Sarah Jane Smith about the alien stuff she doesn't already know. Because, like, she'll know some stuff, sure. But the doctor's not here to fill her in on anything she runs into that she hasn't encountered before. So somebody's got to tell her about that. So we'll do Mr. Smith, who could basically do the same thing that K9 could do as far as analyzing, but isn't mobile and also shooting lasers. So he is power scaled appropriately. Again, a lot of the mechanics feel like they were kind of sorted out less for their story possibilities than more in a, okay, functionally, what do we need to make this work? And that's a perfectly fine way to assemble a show, especially a show like this. It's just one of those cases where I always, well, sometimes it's a bad thing. It's not inherently and automatically a bad thing that I can kind of see the plot machinations and exactly what the writers were thinking with the construction of almost every character in it. Yeah, like sometimes it makes me go, oh, that's interesting, and sometimes it's like, it shouldn't be that obvious why, the plot mechanics reasons why you did that. This one's kind of in the middle of those two things. It is nice that Maria is living with her dad, following a divorce, and like the family, like her mother seems exhausting, but family seems to be on good terms, and the dad isn't like a punchline or a slouch. He's a little embarrassing, but that's his job. He's a dad, and yeah, the overall plan of the Bane to get humans addicted to bubble shock, this new soda, and then use that to take over and all the stuff that they're doing. Like, yeah, that's appropriately goofy, and again feels very much in line with something like Partners in Crime, both tonally and in terms of the logistics of the plan. The CGI for the Bane creatures was better than I remember it being. It's not amazing by any stretch, but given who this was aimed at and that they probably could have gotten away with worse effects, it's not too bad. The designs are good too. So that was kind of a pleasant surprise. I didn't remember thinking much either way of the special effects, but no, they're solid. I mean, they're not gonna blow you away, but just, given the nature of low budget BBC flat out made for kids as opposed to made for all the family like Doctor Who is, and even Doctor Who can have real janky special effects, I was expecting way worse. So yeah, no, it's pretty solid. And that's just kind of where I'm at. Like, people ask me, will you ever review the show? And I don't think you actually want me to, because like with the exception of like maybe a handful of episodes, like maybe some of the finales, or the ones where David Tennant or Matt Smith cameo, or like the one where the break shows up. Unless you want to like specifically commission me to watch those in particular, I don't think you want to listen to me talk about the show, because my overall opinion is going to be, it's fine. It's not for me, but it's fine. And like, it's a really boring review to watch. So, I guess in some ways I'm letting this commissioned review to take on the first story arc that it did. I'm letting this serve as sort of the warning. Be careful what you wish for. Like, I don't have as many thoughts as people do. Like, I say you could commission me to check out the finales. I'm not even sure that's worth doing, because I don't think that highly of the Trickster. Again, like, if I had been 11 when this came out, I'd probably think the Trickster is awesome, but I wasn't. And I don't. Yeah, look, this thing is fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's also not for me. So I don't know what people expect from me trying to talk about this show. It's fine. Sarah Jane Adventures, Invasion of the Bane. Have you seen it or rewatched it lately? What are your thoughts on it? How annoyed are you with me that I wasn't effusively praiseful? I don't know. Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living, even if you can't help me out that way. Like, share, subscribe. They all help. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can come on back next time you need a break. And now to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Jared Boyce, Zubin Lutfula, Auntie Kate 808, Mira G, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Snark Shark, Oliver B, Mystic Shadow, Sean Miller, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Melissa Pedersen, Becky Sparks, Twylord, Tracy Scrabbit, Paul Barabajoggle, Magdalena, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. Additionally, to thank some folks from the lower tiers of support: Lee and Andy, Gavin Hinden, and I Am Orcus. We have some new friends. We have Peppercorn and where'd the other one go? Where'd you go? Coriander has gone behind my head. They are very young and they haven't been integrated with the other rats yet, but soon. Okay, yes. Maybe you weren't quite camera ready.